It's the weekly show with David J. Maloney. This week, David talks to Matt MacDonald, singer-songwriter of The Classic Crime, and we'll check out their new video. And now here's your host, David J. Maloney.
Welcome to everyone at home, and I would normally say our studio audience, to the weekly show. I'm your host, David J. Maloney. We don't have a studio audience today. In fact, we don't even have our normal studio today. As you know, we normally shoot at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Biloxi, Mississippi. Today, we are offset due to coronavirus concerns. We're going to try to do it this way as long as we can, as long as we're allowed to. So let's get right to it. Let's see, we all just set our clocks forward for daylight savings. I'm an active opponent of daylight savings. In fact, I advocate against it 23/7. According to the National Enquirer, Angelina Jolie has found a replacement for Brad Pitt. And I know what you're thinking, but it's not me. So as most of you know, we shoot this show, like I said, normally at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. This month, March, is National Problem Gambling Awareness Month. Experts say if you're addicted to gambling, you can actually be cured, but the odds are not good. And Elizabeth Warren has dropped out of the presidential race. Staffers say her campaign was dysfunctional. There were too many chiefs and not enough Indians. You know, I bet Liz Warren supports Bernie, but then like 2 weeks later takes it back. They say towards the end she was low on campaign funds. In fact, she changed her Indian name to Running Short. And speaking of name changes, I figured out how to get my wife happy to see me when I get home. I changed my name to Shoe Sale. And 43 years ago, Keith Richards was arrested in Toronto for heroin possession. The experience served as a wake-up call, and after being released from jail, Keith stayed sober for almost 20 minutes. So I'm so happy that you guys are still watching. Today we have a great guest on the show. We have Mr. Matt MacDonald. He is with the band The Classic Crime and his side project, The Vocal Few. And then later on in the show, we will get to see a music video from him called Headlights. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back. And we are back. We are here with Matt MacDonald from the Classic Crime. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Now, you've had such an incredible journey with your music career, but I don't actually know the story of how it all started. What got you into music, and what was your big break?
Well, I mean, I played in bands in high school, and I moved from a small town in Washington to Seattle to go to the Art Institute of Seattle because I wanted to do music, audio production. And that's where I kind of met my band, and we all dropped out of college at the same time. We were about 19, 20 years old, and we had this naive belief that we were going to be huge, which was naive, but we didn't know any better. And so we just basically dedicated our entire lives and every day and moved into a house together and practiced all the time and developed a fan base locally. And eventually we ended up getting signed to a local independent label called Tooth and Nail Records. Mm-hmm. And basically, you know, I'm 36 now. I've been doing this. I mean, I've been writing songs for over 20 years, but I've been doing this since I was 19, like singularly.
Now, was writing lyrics or music your first passion?
You know, it's both. It was songwriting that really grabbed me. I used to think I was going to be a graphic artist. I was, you know, would fill sketchbooks with my drawings. I wanted to, you know, draw like my favorite comic book artists. And right around 13, 14, 15, you know, that's kind of the years where music starts to mean a lot. You go through a lot of developmental things and changes, and the world seems more serious, and you need to put words to these emotions you're feeling. And so music kind of became a huge part of my life, and I realized that I could sing music and I could write music if I tried. And I think that's when I kind of gave up on the graphic side of things.
And cathartic in some sense when you're of that age where you're dealing with kind of a little emotional roller coastery items that just come with that age.
Exactly. It was definitely my therapy as a angsty teenager to write songs.
Now, it's kind of obvious from your albums that your journey as a band has been a little bit of a roller coaster, and you guys have been really honest about the highs and lows in many of your lyrics. What has allowed you to be that open and introspective, about your journey as a band?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with just my personality as far as the lyrics go. I don't like pretension or withholding or attempting to be something I'm not. I like to lay it bare and be as vulnerable as I can. And honestly, what I said was, this is my therapy. So this is the time. I don't walk around life with my heart on my sleeve, sharing all my emotions. I often tend to bottle them up. That's my personality. But the music is a way for me to express them. It's the way for me to vent them and get them out there. And so that's just the way I've approached songwriting. If this isn't moving me, if this isn't touching something that really matters to me, then I don't want to put it out,
And faith has been kind of a major theme in your work, and to some extent doubt too, right?
Yeah. They're hand in hand.
So how has faith played a role in your music, and how has that changed as you've grown?
Well, initially, we were signed to, I would call it a pseudo Christian label, but it wasn't. It was sort of like an underground label. And a lot of the bands were sort of faith-based, and we never really took that mantle. We never said that this is what we're doing. We were very comfortable in some of those spheres, but I think really, I was raised in a household that took a really dogmatic stance at faith, and so at a very young age, I was indoctrinated into this worldview that, there is more going on than me.
Now, we talked a little bit about how you've changed as a person and as a man over the course of your career. What advice would you tell your younger self as he goes on his first Warped Tour?
Oh, yeah, Warped Tour, yeah. Oh, man. I would say don't take yourself so seriously and don't try to play the game, Warped Tour is like high school, really. It's a bunch of adult adolescents. A lot of people are trying to be with the cool crowd and hang with the cool crowd and act cool. And, that there's a pull in that. And I don't think we ever really lose that, even as we grow and grow up. There's still some sort of target demographic that we're trying to be a part of. And I would just tell myself, relax, it's fine, just enjoy yourself. And on the business side, take responsibility for things, because I often shirked responsibility, when it came to press or when it came to business decisions. I was sort of like, that's not my job. I'm the artist. Someone else can do that. You're
collaborating with your wife with a separate band, the Vocal Few.
Yes.
And that was obviously a later creation than the Classic Crime. What kind of set you guys off on that journey together?
Well, honestly, it was, I'd become independent, and my wife, we were pregnant with our first. Mm-hmm. And she, we thought, just like all couples with a baby on the way, we thought, this is it. This is, our life is going to be over. Whatever bucket list we have, we better check it off now, because it's over, and, it surely seemed that way if you watched our parents' generation. They settled down and they put their roots in, and their whole lives changed. And ours, thankfully, hasn't that much. It's changed for the better in a lot of ways, obviously, but we've been still able to tour and all that. But that was the fear. And so my wife turned to me and said, I want to make some songs with you, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to. And she was a singer, and she also played keyboard and piano. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll write some songs, and then we'll just have it as like a keepsake for our grandkids. Mommy and daddy used to do this thing or whatever, granny and grandpa, whatever. And then I made these 4 songs, and I liked them. And I thought, you know what, I think people would like these songs. And so why don't we put them up and just say, hey, we're going to have a kid. We're not super financially secure. you know, if you pay what you want for this album, if you want to buy it, it'll just go into like the diaper fund or whatever, you know, paying the hospital bill or whatever.
My assistant producer, Kyle, he said he actually discovered the vocal few when your song Mexico came on before a movie at a local theater. Did you guys know that was a thing, that it came on before movie trailers would start? Yeah,
it just got randomly selected for these previews right before the movie trailers started. And we started, I used to be able to follow the sales, and this is back when sales were still a thing. Yeah. I used to follow like the weekly sales. And I just noticed the fourth song on our first EP, which was the least popular, started selling, you know, 200 or 300 copies a week of just the song. And I didn't know what happened until someone reached out and they said, hey, I was sitting in a packed movie theater the opening weekend of the Hunger Games, and I discovered your song. It had a whole bio and it had a picture of me and my wife, and they played the song, just that song, randomly selected by some aggregate for
Carmike,
for Screen Vision, I think is the name of the company. And they picked it up from ASCAP, which is you know, our publishing service, and so that was crazy because, you know, just random things started happening. I think that really encouraged me because, you know, here was this music that I wasn't going to put out, and because I put it out, you know, things started happening, and that, I think that really confirmed in my psyche that you have to do things for things to happen. You can't just sit back on your laurels and wait. You got to just kind of put stuff out there and see where it takes you. And so that was another encouraging part of, you know, us thinking, you know what, maybe we should do more of these songs.
Well, like Gretzky said, 100% of the shots you don't take don't go in.
Right, exactly.
So
yeah, you'd miss them.
We are going to go to commercial break, and then we will be right back with Matt MacDonald from The Classic Crime and The Vocal Few. And we are back with Matt MacDonald from The Classic Crime. Let's talk about your new album, Patterns in the Static, which is available right now on all music platforms. How did this album come about?
Well, it's funny. I had 2017, 2018, I spent 10 months with my family in Canada, and we ended up touring back in an RV across the country. We got back and we were trying to buy a house, and we were living at my brother's house, and I realized that it had been, you know, 2019's around the corner, and I didn't have a Classic Crime record planned. And so I put up a crowdfund saying, if you pre-order this album now, I will write it and put it out. And previously we'd done crowdfunds where I had an album written and I asked people to pre-order it before hearing it, which is a big ask. And they did. And then this time I asked them to pre-order it before I wrote it, which is a bigger ask because it didn't exist. And they did. And so I basically set out on the journey to write and record this record as much as I could in the public eye for the backers of our crowdfund.
So on this record, you also got to collaborate with quite a few people, hey?
And I met with some of my friends down the West Coast. Chris Keene in Chico, he plays with Saves the Day and has his own band too. He also plays in the band Emery, so he's a really good songwriter. I met with him and spent a day doing song starts with him. I met with Andy Offling of the ambient artist Lowercase Noises. I met with Dave Holdridge. He's a Grammy-nominated engineer in Vegas. And so I just had some friends that I wanted to meet up with and try to ask for help. I'm at the point in my career where I'm kind of sick and tired what I do with what I do on my own. And I'm not precious about my stuff. I would love ideas. I would love seeds from other people.
Is there something that you want fans to take away from Pattern and Static? I know you said it's kind of an album in two parts in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just like when we were talking about, you know, metaphysical meaning. There's the nihilistic viewpoint, and then there's the optimistic viewpoint. There's the idea that this is meaningless, and there's the idea that this is meaningful. And there's always that binary that I think is within us, that dualism in humanity. And so I split up the album into two halves. The first half, the first 6 songs are day, and the second 6 songs are night. And I think both have to be included. And I've come across some people that are like, I hate the first half, but then they said, I listened to the second half and I loved it, and vice versa.
Was there a specific tone that you guys wanted to hit, or maybe 2 tones because of the, the binary aspect of it?
Yeah, I think the first is just more upbeat and more, the chords are more pop. The melodies are more catchy. It's just a daytime part of the album. And then when you get to the end of the first half, the songs are more about shifting to nighttime, and shifting to that dark night of the soul. And then the last, it's a lot more minor on the second half. It's a lot more aggressive. And I think, I didn't think about when I was writing the songs that I would group them that way. But when I was playing with the track listing, I thought it would be really cool to not have this roller coaster ride, just to have it, side A, side B, and have them separate and see what that would do.
Your music video for Highlights, where'd you shoot that? Because at one point it kind of looks like you're in Saudi Arabia, like in a desert, right?
Yeah. We were on tour, and we had the idea that we were going to stop in multiple locations on this tour to film this video, which is it's kind of a metaphorical video. It's not very literal on the nose, but it's about traveling through memories of time passing slowly. When you're a kid, time passes so slow, and Highlights the song is kind of about that. It's about remembering when time passed slow. And so we wanted to represent the nature of time passing slow with nature itself, because nature's a thing that changes very slowly most of the time. Seasons change slowly and the like. So we stopped first in Yosemite. We have a friend who's a pilot who lives on an airstrip, and he flies planes. And so he flew us in a float plane to Cherry Lake. We landed on the lake, and we shot the first act of the video in Yosemite National Park. Then we went down from San Diego. We drove to Phoenix. I woke up at 7 in the morning on the RV, got off, and we were at some sand dunes, imperial sand dunes. And these are just like you said. It's like you're in, the Middle East or Africa. Mm-hmm. You're in the Sahara Desert almost. Huge sand dunes. And so we shot the second half there. And then at the very end, we were driving from from Denver to Salt Lake, and we stopped in Moab, Utah, where Arches National Park is, and that's where all that red sandstone rock formations are. Many of them are arches or different, phallic-looking things. They're really wild. It looks like you're on the surface of Mars.
So, lastly, what can we expect from the Classic Crime and the Vocal Few this year that I can make our audience aware of?
Sure. Yeah. Well, hopefully, if this pandemic doesn't cancel everything, we'll be going on tour with Scary Kids Scaring Kids. And we're starting in Chicago, and we're heading down to Florida and then up the East Coast in June and July. And the dates are on theclassiccrime.com. So those will be some crazy good live shows, as long as everyone washes their hands and practices social distancing. So this thing doesn't spread. We're hoping the tour goes off and everything's fine, and it works. Vocal Few. After that tour, I'm going to drive back up to Nova Scotia and stay there a couple weeks, and then I think we're going to tour back with Vocal Few. I'm going to fly the family out. Chrissy and I, with the kids, will travel back and hopefully do some living room shows on the way back. Again, barring any dramatic developments in the current crisis. So,
well, Matt, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much for being with us. As I understand it, we are going to show one of your videos for Highlights, right?
Great. Awesome.
So thanks for being with us. And let's just weather this thing all together, huh?
All right. Thanks.
Be good.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye-bye. And here is Matt MacDonald with the Classic Crime with their song, Headlights.
When I I'm alone with no words to say. Sometimes I sit and just watch the rain come down. I'm waiting by the window now. It's been a while. I remember back when I was 8. So many hours in a single day. I'd wait, tapping on the fish tank and watching them swim away. So what would it feel like to be born again? Waiting on a friend with no distractions. We're not gonna get any younger. Let's slow it down. Waste some time in for here and now. Not over yet. We'll get older and realize the little things we did to kill some time became the greatest highlights. As I get older and the weeks fly by, I try to catch up but I blink my eyes. And now I'm 35, forgetting what it's like to watch the tide roll in from the ocean. So what would happen if we tried to make it stop? Watch the ticking of the clock, moving in slow motion. We're not gonna get any younger. Let's slow it down. Waste some time in for here and now. Not over yet. We'll get older and realize the little things we did to kill some time became the greatest highlights. It's never gonna stop now. So we gotta slow it down. Get off this merry-go-round with some time to kill. It's never gonna stop now. So we gotta slow it down. Get off this merry-go-round. Every moment now is a highlight reel. We're not gonna get any younger. Let's slow it down. Waste some time in for here and now. Not over yet. We'll get older and realize the little things we did to kill some time became the greatest highlights.
Thank you all for watching during this difficult time. My name is David G. Maloney. I am your host. I want to thank Matt MacDonald for being with us by Skype. And stay tuned. Next week, hopefully, we'll have another great show for you.